Have you ever noticed that some women don't flirt openly? Instead, they quietly test your awareness, especially when you're a man over 50. Women behave differently around you. They don't want to come across as needy and they don't want to seem too easy. So instead, they ask certain kinds of questions. And this is what many men fail to understand. A woman who feels attracted to an older man will almost always ask two very specific questions. It's like a hidden message in plain sight. Before I reveal them, do me a quick favor. Hit the like button. If you've ever missed a woman's signal and only realized it later, that moment when everything suddenly makes sense, but it's too late. Have you ever walked away from a conversation thinking, she was just being polite, only to realize days later she was actually interested in you? She gave you an opening, but you didn't see it? If you have, you're not alone. And today, we're going to change that. My name is Sarah Jones. This is deeper. This is about understanding the quiet language women use. Men over 50 often believe something that simply isn't true, that they've become invisible. But the reality is almost the opposite. A grounded, emotionally steady man becomes more attractive with age. It's not that women aren't interested, it's that men are misreading the signals. They assume she's just being friendly. But in reality, she may be opening a door. Because women rarely express attraction in a direct way. Instead, they observe, they feel, and then they test. And those tests don't look like tests. They look like simple questions. But underneath those questions is something much deeper. You see, feminine psychology doesn't operate loudly. It operates subtly, emotionally, intuitively. When a woman begins to feel drawn to you, especially as a mature man, her behavior shifts in very specific ways. She becomes more curious, more attentive, more intentional. And the way she expresses that curiosity is through questions designed to reveal who you really are beneath the surface. Not what you do, not what you own, not how impressive you sound, but how you feel, how you respond, and whether there is space in your life for her. Now here's something important that most men never consider. Women are not asking these questions to gather information. They are asking to feel something. They want to feel your presence, your stability, your emotional depth, your awareness. They want to understand, can this man hold space for me emotionally? Can I relax around him? Can I open up without feeling rejected or misunderstood? And this is especially true when it comes to older men. Because when a woman interacts with a man over 50, she carries a different kind of awareness. She assumes you've lived, you've experienced, you've learned. So she's not just looking for attraction. She's looking for emotional alignment. And instead of saying that directly, she tests it gently, subtly, through questions. Let me explain something that will change how you see these interactions forever. Men express interest through action. Women express interest through emotional inquiry. A man might offer help, give advice, show protection, take initiative. A woman asks questions that create closeness. That's her way of stepping toward you. And if you don't recognize that, you miss the moment entirely. Now, before I reveal the two specific questions she asks, I want you to understand something deeper, because this is where the real shift happens. When a woman is attracted to you, she is also afraid. Not afraid of you, but afraid of being misunderstood, of being seen as too available, too eager, too emotional. So instead of showing her interest openly, she wraps it in something safer, curiosity. She hides her attraction inside normal conversation, inside questions that feel casual on the surface, but are actually very intentional underneath. And here's the part most men don't realize. If you miss those signals, she usually won't repeat them. Women rarely open the same emotional door twice, because in her mind, she already tried. And if you didn't notice, she assumes you're not interested, not aware, or not emotionally available. So she pulls back. Not dramatically, not obviously, but quietly. And once that shift happens, the connection fades. This is why awareness matters so much, because attraction isn't always loud. Sometimes it's hidden in the smallest details, a pause, a look, a question. And those questions are what we're focusing on today. Now, these questions aren't random. They're designed to uncover three things about you: your emotional availability, your sense of direction, and your awareness as a man, because those are the three things that create emotional safety for a woman. And without emotional safety, attraction doesn't grow, it disappears. So when she asks you these questions, she's not making conversation. She's evaluating something much deeper. She's asking herself, is this a man I can move closer to, or someone I need to step away from? Now let's talk about the first question, because this one is so subtle that most men completely overlook it. And yet, it's one of the clearest signals of interest a woman can give. The first question is, do you spend a lot of time alone? Now on the surface, this sounds harmless, almost casual, maybe even random, but psychologically, it's incredibly revealing. Because she's not asking about your schedule, she's asking about your emotional space. What she really wants to know is there room for me in your life? Are you open or closed? Do you allow people in or keep them at a distance? Are you someone who connects or someone who hides behind routine and independence? You see, women don't invest emotionally without sensing possibility first, and this question is her way of testing that possibility. She might phrase it differently. Are you more of a private person? Do you usually keep to yourself? Are you seeing someone or just focusing on your own life? Different words, same meaning. She's trying to understand, can I step into his world naturally, or will I feel like an outsider? And here's what's fascinating. If she felt nothing for you, she wouldn't ask this at all. She wouldn't care how you spend your time. She wouldn't wonder about your emotional space. The fact that she's asking means she's already imagined herself somewhere within your life, even if just for a moment. Now let's look at how most men respond. They answer literally, yes, I'm alone a lot. Not really. It depends. And just like that, the moment disappears, because they're answering the question on the surface instead of responding to what's underneath it. A grounded, emotionally aware man does something different. He hears the meaning behind the question, and he responds with presence, not just information. For example, I enjoy my space, but I appreciate the right company. Or, I've built a life I value, but I'm always open to someone who adds something meaningful to it. Do you feel the difference there? You're not just answering, you're revealing. You're showing her that you're independent, but not closed. Open, but not needy. Stable, but not emotionally distant. And that balance is incredibly attractive to a woman because it creates something she deeply desires, emotional safety with possibility. When she feels that, her energy shifts. She becomes more relaxed, more engaged, more open. And that's when the second question begins to emerge. Now, this second question is even more powerful because it moves beyond curiosity and into intention. And if she asks you this, you need to pay attention, because this is where she's deciding whether to move closer or step back. The second question is, what are you looking for these days? Now I want you to pause for a second and really think about this. This is not small talk. This is not casual conversation. This is a woman considering you as a potential part of her life. Because if she didn't feel something, she wouldn't risk asking something this personal. This question requires vulnerability, and women don't offer that without reason. She may phrase it differently. What do you want right now in life? What's your focus these days? What kind of connection are you looking for? But the intention remains the same. She's trying to understand your direction, your purpose, your emotional clarity. Because women are not drawn to men who drift. They are drawn to men who know who they are and where they're going. Now here's where many men unknowingly break the connection. They respond with uncertainty. I'm just taking things day by day. I don't really know. I'm just looking for peace. And while those answers may be honest, they don't create attraction. Because what she hears is lack of direction, lack of clarity, lack of emotional leadership. And without those, she doesn't feel safe investing herself. But when a man responds with grounded clarity, everything changes. He doesn't need to be perfect. He doesn't need a scripted answer. He just needs to show direction. Something like, I'm building a life that feels meaningful, with the right people around me. Or, I'm looking for something real, something that feels natural and adds value to both lives. Or even, I know what I don't want, and I'm clear about what I do. Do you see what that does? It shows movement. It shows awareness. It shows intention. And most importantly, it creates a space where she can imagine herself walking alongside you. And that is powerful. Because when a woman can see herself in your world, that's when attraction deepens. That's when connection grows. That's when everything begins to shift. And here's something I want you to really understand. Women are not looking for perfection. They are looking for clarity, because clarity creates safety, and safety allows attraction to expand. Now imagine this in a real-life situation. You're sitting with a woman, maybe at a cafe, maybe at a quiet gathering, maybe even talking online late at night. The conversation flows. There's ease. There's warmth. And then she asks, So, do you spend a lot of time alone? That's her first step toward you. If you respond with presence, she leans in. If you miss it, she pulls back. And then later, she asks, What are you looking for these days? That's her second step. That's the moment she decides, is this man someone I can move toward, or someone I should step away from? And most men never even realize that decision was being made. But now you will. And next, I'm going to take you even deeper into this. I'm going to show you exactly how women emotionally invest, what happens after these questions, and the subtle behaviors that tell you she's already choosing you. And also, how to respond in a way that naturally builds attraction without trying too hard. So if you've made it this far, make sure you're subscribed to the Female Signals, because what you're learning here, most men never do. And trust me. Now here's where things become even more interesting. Because once a woman asks those two questions, something has already shifted inside her. She's no longer just observing you casually. She's no longer neutral. At that point, she has already started to imagine you in a more personal space in her life. And this is the part most men completely miss. They think attraction begins when she openly shows interest, when she compliments them, flirts directly, or makes her intentions obvious. But for women, attraction often begins much earlier, in silence, in observation, in those small emotional tests we talked about. So let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a conversation where everything felt easy, natural, almost like there was an unspoken connection, but nothing ever happened afterward? No follow-up, no deeper interaction, just silence. If that's happened to you, there's a very strong chance you were standing right in the middle of her emotional doorway and didn't step through it. Because once she asks those two questions, do you spend a lot of time alone? And what are you looking for these days? She's not just asking anymore. She's watching, carefully. She's paying attention to your tone, your confidence, your emotional presence, and most importantly, your awareness. This is where feminine psychology becomes incredibly precise. A woman doesn't just listen to what you say. She feels how you say it. She notices whether you're grounded or uncertain, open or guarded, present or distracted. And in those few moments, she begins forming a deeper emotional conclusion about you. Now here's something that may surprise you. Attraction for a woman is not just about how she feels toward you. It's also about how she feels within herself when she's around you. Does she feel relaxed? Does she feel safe? Does she feel seen without needing to perform? Or does she feel unsure, disconnected, or emotionally unsupported? Because if she feels safe and emotionally at ease, her attraction grows naturally. But if she feels confusion or lack of direction, even if she initially liked you, she begins to withdraw, quietly. And that's the part men rarely notice. There's no dramatic rejection, no clear signal, just a gradual shift in energy. She becomes less responsive, less curious, less engaged, and eventually, she disappears from your emotional space. Not because she wasn't interested, but because the connection didn't deepen when it needed to. Now let's go deeper into what happens inside her mind after those two questions. When she asks, "Do you spend a lot of time alone?" and you respond with calm openness, she feels possibility. She starts to think, "There's space here. I wouldn't have to fight to be part of his life." And when she asks, "What are you looking for these days?" and you respond with clarity and direction, she feels stability. She begins to think, "This man knows himself. I can trust where this is going." And when both of those feelings come together, possibility and stability, something very powerful happens. She begins to emotionally invest. Not fully, not all at once, but gradually. And this is where her behavior starts to change in ways that many men don't recognize. She begins to give you more of her attention. She remembers small details you've shared. She asks deeper questions. She stays in conversations longer than necessary. She may even create subtle opportunities to interact with you again. Now here's a question for you. Have you ever noticed a woman bringing up something you mentioned days or even weeks ago? Something small? Something you didn't even think mattered? That's not random. That's investment. Because when a woman starts remembering details, it means you've moved beyond surface-level interaction in her mind. You've become emotionally relevant. And that's a very important shift. Now let me give you a real-life scenario so you can truly feel how this unfolds. Imagine you're sitting in a quiet cafe. There's a woman across from you. The conversation is easy, relaxed. There's a natural rhythm. She laughs at something you say, not excessively, but just enough to show she's enjoying your presence. Then she pauses, looks at you, and asks, "So, do you usually spend a lot of time on your own?" In that moment, everything slows down. This is not just a question. This is her stepping slightly closer to you emotionally. Now, if you respond with awareness, with calm confidence, with openness, she feels it. And that feeling encourages her. So the conversation continues. And a little later, she asks, "What are you looking for these days?" Now this is her second step. This is where she's deciding whether to open herself further or gently close the door. If your answer carries clarity, even in a simple way, you'll notice something subtle happen. Her body language softens. Her eye contact deepens. Her tone becomes warmer. Because now, she feels safe enough to stay. And this is the moment where connection begins to build naturally. Not forced, not rushed, just unfolding. But here's where many men make a critical mistake. They try too hard. They over-explain. They start listing achievements, plans, or past experiences, thinking they need to impress her. But what she's actually looking for is not information. It's emotional experience. She wants to feel what it's like to be around you, not hear a presentation about your life. So instead of trying to impress, the most powerful thing you can do is stay present. Stay grounded, stay real, because presence creates attraction, not performance. Now I want to share something deeper with you, something that will completely change how you approach these moments. A woman is not testing you to judge you. She's testing the connection. She's asking herself, "Can I feel something real here? Does this man make me feel comfortable being myself? Is there emotional safety or emotional uncertainty?" And your responses to those two questions answer all of that for her, without you even realizing it. That's why awareness is everything, because once you start recognizing these patterns, you stop second-guessing, you stop overthinking, you stop wondering, is she interested or not? You simply see it. And when you see it, you respond differently, more naturally, more confidently, more effectively. Now let's talk about something most people don't discuss, timing. Because even if you say the right things, if you say them without emotional timing, the impact is lost. For example, if she asks you, "What are you looking for these days?" and you respond immediately, without pause, without presence, it can feel rehearsed. But when you take a moment, when you actually feel your answer before you speak, It carries weight. It feels real. And women are incredibly sensitive to that difference. They can tell when you're speaking from awareness and when you're just saying what sounds right. So give your words space. Let them come from clarity, not pressure. Now here's another layer most men overlook: consistency. It's not just about answering those two questions correctly once. It's about maintaining that same emotional presence afterward. Because if you show openness in one moment, and then become distant or inconsistent later, she feels the shift immediately. And when she feels inconsistency, her emotional investment stops. Because consistency equals safety, and safety is what allows her to move closer. Now I want you to reflect on this. Think about your last meaningful interaction with a woman. Did she ask you something personal? Something subtle? Something that felt slightly deeper than normal conversation? And if she did, how did you respond? Did you answer on the surface, or did you recognize what she was really asking? Because that one moment could have been the difference between connection and missed opportunity. And here's the truth. Most attraction doesn't fail because of lack of interest. It fails because of lack of awareness. Now, as we come toward the end of this, I want to give you something practical, something you can actually use starting today. The next time a woman asks you a question that feels simple, but carries a slightly deeper tone, pause. Don't rush. Ask yourself, what is she really trying to feel right now? And then respond to that. Not just the words, but the emotion behind them. Because when you do that, everything changes. Your conversations become more meaningful, your presence becomes more attractive, and your connections become deeper, without you forcing anything. And this is exactly what we focus on here on the Female Signals, helping you understand not just what women say, but what they mean. So if you've been finding value in this, make sure you subscribe, because what you're learning right now gives you an advantage most men never develop. And before you go, I want to ask you something important. Which of these two questions have you heard before? And did you recognize it in the moment, or only later? Drop your answer in the comments, because your experience might help someone else realize what they've been missing. And remember this, a woman won't always tell you she's interested, but she will show you in the way she asks, in the way she listens, and in the way she quietly invites you into her world. All you have to do is notice. And when you do, you'll never miss that moment again.